Liked by the sound of violence.
After the Holloway fight, I had cataracts, right? And they said they were trauma-induced cataracts. It was bad. Like I couldn't. I thought I got poked in the eye first. You know, I think I got poked in the eye at one point in that fight. So I just thought I had scratched cornea. It fucking hurt. My eyes were killing me. I couldn't keep them open. I couldn't close them. Felt like I had sand in them. My one eye. Went to the doctor. Like, yeah, you have cataracts. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, what do I do to fix this? It's like, oh, surgery. And I'm like, if I get surgery, then a lot of places only a lot of commissions won't let you fight. You know, with cataracts. I'm like, fuck. So I went to a different doctor. Like, well, it's cataracts. I'm like, oh, what's the way to fix it? Only way to fix it, surgery. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, well, I'll just deal with it. I'm gonna have to deal with it until I'm done fighting. I'll get cataract. I'll get the surgery after. Cause otherwise, I'm not gonna be able to fight certain commissions. And it fucking went away.
Wow.
It went away. And then when I fought Munoz, it came back again. I remember in that cage. I'm like, I go to fucking someone, Steve, one of them. I go, fuck, my cataracts are back, dude. And I was all fucking blurry eyed. And then 2 months later, it fucking went away again. And I just went and got my eyes checked for this fight, and no more cataracts.
Really?
Yep.
But could potentially come back again with another fight.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe it didn't come back.
It's 2 fights in a row. It came back, but it goes. Listen, man. You know, I just don't want to see you get hurt, bro. That's all. And I know that every fight, everybody has some level of injuries. That's not what I'm talking about. I get that. You're fucking as tough as they come. I'm talking about, you know, long term, you know, real injuries, especially something, you know, like CTE. I mean, that's a real thing.
Well, you know what? I'll be honest. I don't know if it's something that, like, you could even gauge and be like, all right, no, fuck that one. That one got me a little bit. Maybe it's time to go. I don't know if it works like that or it's all going to come crashing down.
What up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast. Let you know the MMA podcast you should catch and can't miss each week, as well as we try and check out a new show. And we aim to be a form of social aid in the MMA community going forward. And we're just looking to give some shout outs and give some love, because we could use that shit. So I am Pulver. I am back yet again with my co-host Chris Madaffer on a very special Lundi Gras edition. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. So I forgot, it's Mardi Gras tomorrow, because tomorrow's Tuesday. It's always on Tuesday, right?
That would be correct. Mardi is Tuesday.
Nice. Well, too bad we're in a pandemic. Otherwise, you could celebrate accordingly, right?
Well,
but that's not going to stop some people.
Well, I've got the day off, so I'm getting hammered. My plan is to drink a fuck ton of Hurricanes and watch all the... there's actually a surprising amount of content coming out of New Orleans for this year. Of course, normally it's all the parades and stuff. No parades this year. But everybody basically did house floats and stuff. So basically a ton of people dressed up their houses as floats.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is pretty... Yeah, it's pretty cool. They're doing some fun stuff. Shouts out to The Advocate, who's been doing the Mardi Gras for All Y'all streams. Those have been a ton of fun. And, man, yeah, I've been enjoying it. It is one of my favorite times of year, even if I get goddamn sad around it every time, since I'm, of course, stuck in San Diego. But, good God, a lot of fun. So, I guess before we get into any of this, that's a great segue to our Papa Vodka Presents, Doug Stanhope Presents, our sponsor. What you drinking on this week?
So I was able to track this down. Luckily, it's good, because I wanted to get one that I hadn't tried, and it said best by like February 3rd of this year. I was like, So I kind of went to the 6-pack, shook it a little bit, just to see, like,
make sure there's no floaties. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I think we're all right. So I haven't had this in a while.
Hell yeah.
I had to do it. So.
Hell yeah, rocking the old school beat up purple haze.
Yeah. It's not bad. Not a bad beer. I've had it multiple times before.
Yeah, raspberry wheat, right?
Yeah. The one I wanted to get that I hadn't tried was a strawberry lager, but that's the one that looked like it kind of was expired.
Yeah, the Straw Gator or the Andy Gator, whatever it's called, something like that. Yeah.
This one was just called strawberry lager because I have had the Andy Gator one before because the Andy Gators are amber.
Right, they made a strawberry one of that at one point, I think too.
Okay,
but yeah, I like Abita stuff a whole bunch. I mean, Abita Amber and Turbo Dog are like two of my go-tos for sure. I am not drinking any Abita because I have not picked any up yet. However, I do have my backup, speaking of Mardi Gras beers, I do have a backup Budweiser. But I am actually drinking, because, we'll find out on the break whether or not I'm switching to Hurricanes for the second segment. But I got one of these, and I had not had one yet. It is the White Russian from Cutwater.
Yep.
And so I am pretty stoked on that, because I've been hearing good things about it.
I've had it before. I like it.
Oh, yeah, that's just super good. That's really, really drinkable. That's trouble. Because I think it's like 15%.
It's like 14 something.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that is really good. So, all right. Well, we are not a booze show, despite my best efforts. I should shout out, I do have some weed for this episode. I picked up from, where did I get it from? Speedy Weedy or one of those generic ass places. I got some Mojave Reserve, but specifically I got the Bull Rider, and I have not had Bull Rider since I was a kid. It was like the strain that was around in high school that my friend bought off the dude who grew it down here in San Diego. It's like the San Diego strain, and that shit has been very hard to find for like a decade. But I finally found some, and it is super bomb. I did not remember it being so lemony. I fucking hate the focus on this thing. I did not remember it being so lemony. It's super, like, it's pretty close to a lemon haze almost. But yeah, super good, and like the classic name suggests, it will make you cough like a motherfucker. So big shouts to that. Also, Joe in chat is correct that the Cutwater Margarita is pretty fucking good. Their rum and ginger is my favorite by far. That shit is so fire.
That's probably still the favorite one of mine to do, that and the gin and tonic. I haven't had, the only margarita one I've seen, I think they just have a classic one, and they have like some mango one.
Yeah, I think
I haven't tried either one, though.
Yeah, I've had the regular margarita one. It's like all the Cutwater stuff. It's real solid. Although I do miss like the old, I feel like they were better back in the day. The classic example is...
They definitely were.
Yeah, well, and the one you can really tell it on is that rum and ginger, because that thing used to be so spicy. That thing used to, like, burn your nostrils when you opened that. So,
Did they tone it down a bit?
Yeah, it definitely feels toned down.
Okay, yeah, because the last time I tried one of those, it definitely still stung the nostrils. So
it does, but not in, like, the violent way it used to. It used to be brutal.
No, that's what I mean. Like, it was very, like, dude, you'd pour it and, like, smell it, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Like, it'll make you cough if you're too deep in the nose on that one. Yeah, for sure. Cool, man. Well, on that note, why don't we go ahead and segue into format and get this shit kicked off? You want to let people know the MMA podcast you recommend they catch this week?
Yeah, so this is a good episode. It was CME Power Hour. I called it the Gina Carano edition.
Yeah, it was, let's see, it was CME Power Hour for February 12th.
Yeah, so they go into what had happened to Gina Carano. She said a lot of...
Yeah, what Gina Carano made happen to Gina Carano.
Yeah. She said very anti-Semitic things on social media, lots of conspiracy stuff, baseless claims, yada, yada, yada. Essentially, she said, if you're belittling me for my politics or conservatism, conservative values or whatever beliefs, then that's basically like I'm a Jew and you're a Nazi. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just a really dumb argument.
It's inappropriate. And they were just saying, well, they said she's improved as an actor, but she still fucked up the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm like, you're fucking working for Disney, working for Disney, you know.
Yeah, how do you fuck up Disney money?
Yeah, you were going to get your own spin-off called, like, Rangers of the New Republic.
That's Carl right, with Carl Weathers. He can tell you how to make a soup out of that.
Yeah, and it's just fucking stupid that she did that to herself. I don't have any I mean, just based on what she said and all the bullshit she was spreading around, I don't have any sympathy for her.
Yeah, she's been trying to make this happen for a long time. If you've been paying attention to any of her social media,
Chad and Ben says if it's an NFL player kneeling during the anthem, kick him out of the league. But if it's a person that they like saying stuff they like, it's called cancel culture.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw some different points being across, like, oh, it's not fair, has nothing to do with her job with Disney. And
yeah, well, poor Gina Carano has been treated so terribly over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ariel actually had, I think, probably the best take of everybody. Like, his video was just very, much just bad. Just a bad move. Just a bad move. And insensitive and dumb. And easily avoidable.
Yeah, I didn't see what he said. I'm sure he had a lot to say. And it was a good listen, considering
he had,
who he is.
Exactly, yeah. And literally, he's also done a lot of interviews with her and stuff, too, so... Yeah, what a fucking dumbass.
White force that piece of shit. Go, Ariel's a douche. Leave Gina alone. It's like, what?
Well, it's not like Dana White ever cut a fighter for speaking negatively. Except for all the fighters he's cut for speaking negatively. Shouts to Leslie Smith.
Yeah, exactly. And then Ben and Chad said, oh, Gina's now former agent needs a trophy for getting that role for her in the first place. Yeah, seriously.
100%. He was like, just stop trying to lose me money, you fucking crazy.
Yeah, and they said it's interesting that there hasn't been an MMA person / fighter that's been punished for speaking out. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Maybe just on this level, obviously.
Not on this level. Like, obviously, like the Miguel Torres, It's Always Sunny rape fan joke he got cut for. Leslie Smith, obviously, getting cut for talking. But, like, nobody, like, Tito is allowed to exist on this planet talking the way he talks still. And, like, he's still a mayor pro tem, goddammit. I don't know. Rules don't apply to MMA fighters because no one expects anything of them. It's like pro wrestlers. It's like, I don't know. Who expected the Carnies to not say something fucked up?
Yeah. So that was a solid listen, despite it being just not fun.
Right. Despite it having to be about something very frustrating. For sure, man. Let's see. So that is a good segue into... Actually, it's not a good segue into any of these. One of my catches for this week, I guess this is an okay segue, is Best Camp of My Life, episode 15, with Nancy Kidder as the guest. Of course, this is Fernanda Pratas or so. And they talk a bit about Nancy making her own wine. And I'd like to be the first to say I'll hashtag would listen to the Nancy and Fernanda wine podcast. I think that shit would be pretty great. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun talking about their writing processes and kind of just like discussions in the sport about all kinds of stuff. It's exactly how you think a conversation between Nancy and Fernanda would go. It's really good. They talk about women's opinions in MMA often not getting taken as seriously as men's opinions, just in general, like across the board. They oftentimes have to source and explain their opinions way more than their male counterparts in the sport, which I thought was pretty interesting. They also talk about Stephen A. Smith's dumbass comments, and also Sean O'Malley and Casey Kinney's dumbass comments. And yeah, it's just a really interesting discussion about a lot of the things that you would imagine they'd be talking about. But it's always interesting and enlightening to hear them go back and forth on stuff. So highly recommend it. It is a really good episode. And honestly, I'm here for any time Fernanda and Nancy Kidder are on mic together. So Best Camp of My Life, episode 15, super solid.
Yeah, that sounds like a powerful duo right there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Did you have any other MMA podcasts you recommend people catch this week?
Yeah, let's see. A lot of this stuff, I'm just trying to think, because a lot of it, some of the stuff I listened to, it was like a week ago, technically.
That counts too.
Let's see. Let's go. God damn it.
I can go with another one if you want while you're looking.
Yeah, go for it. I still got to kind of listen to it.
Oh, stupid to smoke Bull Rider on mic. Oh, it's inevitably going to make me cough. What was I thinking? The Art Fight podcast, their final episode came out this week. This is, of course, the show hosted by Joe Nolan and Brian Siskind. And they basically decided it's time to end their show, which is a bummer because we're big fans of it. It made it to our 25 or top 25 list that we narrowed down for our award show. And also, full disclosure, we get shouted out on this thing a whole bunch of times. So I don't know, take that for what it's worth. But it's more. I'm not adding it because they mentioned us, because I don't care. They mentioned us, although it's always sweet. Shouts to Nancy Kidder, who was the guest on there and gave us a shout out. But I always really liked the Art Fight podcast. I mean, they had some great episodes last year with Sean Sheehan and Fernanda, Chuck Mindenhall, Nancy, bunch of people. So I really, really like it. And it's a bummer to see it go, but I'm sure we will see some more from Brian and Joe. If not for nothing else, I'm sure Brian will be dropping in on Nancy's panel shows that she does for writing and fighting. So yeah, just a long discussion about some of the guests they've had on over the years, and some of the discussions they've had, and yeah, just a really good kind of recap. And this isn't even as much a skip for this final a catch. So I'm sorry, a catch for this final episode, but just a catch in general. Like a lot of their discussions that they had on the Art Fight podcast are not topical or timely. So you can easily go back and listen to those, and it's just about really a lot of discussions about kind of the intersections of art and fighting. And so, yeah, just a really interesting discussion series that they put together, and yeah, I highly recommend it. Also, Kevin Guthrie did jump on there as well for a bit to talk about some of his art. So, yeah, just a really solid episode and a really great show all around. So, big shouts to the Art Fight podcast, and we will definitely miss it.
Let's see. So, I most of these guys are just mentions. I do have a can't miss later, but
here, I got one more catch before we get to that. So my other catch for this week is the Fight Site Patreon, evaluating the career of Randy Couture. And this is the show that Kyle McLaughlin, not the actor, from the Fight Site, and Ryan Wagner basically talk about old MMA stuff. Kyle, of course, breaks the format like 3 seconds in a very funny way. It's basically a deep dive on Randy's career and kind of what it meant at the time and what it means in retrospect. Kyle, of course, is like a big historian in combat sports in general, and I love him having like just discussions that you don't hear as much anymore about a lot of the early days and a lot of the people who don't necessarily get the shine that they deserve. A lot of talk about Randleman and actually some Tim Sylvia talk. Kyle, I think, mentions at one point that Tom Erickson is now coaching at Duke University for wrestling, I believe, which is pretty crazy. Shouts out to Duke University. Everyone in my family is an alum until me, because I'm too broke. But shouts out to everyone else in my family. So yeah, it's pretty interesting and just a really fun discussion. I'm always here for more retrospective discussions between Kyle and Ryan, and it's a really good one. A lot of talk about rings and Randy leaving the UFC and kind of taking a couple losses and coming back and getting big wins. Kyle has the best joke of the week that if it wasn't so rough, I would have used it as a clip, but let's just say, if I really like the joke and I'm not using it as a clip, it's probably worth going and finding. But it's real funny. So I recommend that episode for sure. The Fight Site Patreon, evaluating the career of Randy Couture.
Nice. And by the way, Duke, could you have actually been like, what's the term, grandfathered in, or just fathered into the university on a scholarship, or is it more or less like you would have to be like getting on student loans or some sort of program?
I'm sure. And it's also one of those things where my family, shouts out to the Southern California schooling system, tried to convince everybody that you can go to junior high for 2 years to save money and then go to a 4-year university.
Or junior college.
Sorry, yeah, well, same thing, really. High school with ashtrays.
Yeah. 13th grade, 14th
100%.
grade, yeah.
Dude, Mesa was just everybody in my class like the next year. But yeah, you don't transfer to Duke from Mesa College. Let me put it that way. So,
Unless you have money.
Well, yeah. Exactly. And yeah, shouts out to the banking side of my family who doesn't talk to me. They're doing all right. But yeah, really good episode for sure. And shouts to Coach K, I guess? I don't know. Okay, anyway. Let's see. Chris, you said you had a can't miss episode this week, right?
Yeah, and it was... I liked it a lot because of transparency and how the gentleman interviewing him, his friend, wasn't afraid to kind of just be a little honest with him.
Yep.
For where he's at in his career. It was Champ and the Tramp number 64. Frankie Edgar and Robert is his friend's name. I always forget his fucking right.
Roger, I think.
Roger?
Something like that.
I think it's Roger.
Something like that. It's the dude from is he from Jersey Shore or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, man, what a fucking heartbreaking episode this is. You guys heard on the intro. That's not even like half of the heartbreaking shit that was said, but
yeah, Frankie says he likes to take something from his losses, whether it was the Ortega or the Korean Zombie loss. He said, but this one hurts the most because, he's only in there for 22 seconds, and then bam, it's all over. How he describes to the nurse what his thought process was, couldn't even tell you what current date it was. It was pretty surreal. I mean, we've heard some stories from other combat sport athletes, boxers, and mixed martial artists, and their reactions to being knocked out. It's a lot of it is, oh, now the fight's starting, right? Or or someone going, oh, I lost because I got cut. It was a doctor stoppage.
Yeah, scary.
This is a good interview. He said Frankie would have loved to see how the fight would have played out with Corey Sanhagen. If it hadn't stopped, and I saw in the beginning of that fight, Frankie was doing his Frankie things, just getting those leg kicks quick, kind of bull rushing him to pressure him, cut off the angles, kind of throwing that quick little, 1-2 to the outside, and then sometimes going for a clinch, right, or an underhook, and then just kind of backing away. So he looked like his old self, which wasn't bad. It's just Sanhagen was just so fucking huge.
Yep.
And that dude's just so diverse in his striking, where he could put his knees everywhere.
Well, and Frankie just always has had a tendency to duck his head, and it's not gotten better over time. And he ducked right into that knee.
Yeah, he says he got himself into the hurt business because, I think it was Roger, and I hope that's his name, was saying, "Hey man, are you afraid of all this damage you've accumulated over the years? What about CTE? Does that scare you?" And Frankie acknowledges CTE is a thing, but he's not worried about it right now because he thinks it's too late. He's too far into it. And while that might be true, I think you also kind of have to factor in maybe you should stop.
Well, especially when he also there's some stuff that he says offhandedly and does not put an exclamation point on that's even scarier that he has not said in other interviews. One of which is that the not remembering thing has happened in sparring also.
Maybe that's why you have fighters now, and I know it's not just Max Holloway because there's plenty of other fighters that don't spar anymore. Tony Ferguson doesn't spar anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's smart just to not spar.
Yeah, Frankie also said...
You don't really need it.
I mean, not after a certain amount of time in the ring. When you're Frankie and you have 7 hours of fight time or whatever it is. Yeah, Jesus Christ. He also says he wants to fight in July. He also says that they didn't show him trying to wrestle the ref, the doctor, and Mark Henry after that. And then the worst part is the clip you guys heard where evidently Frankie's being allowed to fight when he has trauma or impact induced cataracts that went away, so it's not a big deal, even though they came back once and then went away again. The fuck?
Well, it just means they're going to come back.
What also means commission should not be allowing him to fight at this point. If he has been told by multiple doctors that he has trauma-induced cataracts, whether they go away or not, it probably means you can't keep allowing that dude to compete in good faith. as a fucking health organization. That's kind of what you're there for, is to not, like, when shit like this happens and it's recurring and you have video of the dude saying it's happened and it's recurring and it's been diagnosed by multiple doctors, it's the time for everybody to step in. It's incredible to me that the dude from Jersey Shore is the only fucking person around Frankie Edgar who's willing to say anything to him. Because clearly that's the case.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane to me. It's really, really frustrating and really sad to see. And that is a great segue into my can't miss for this week, which Champion the Tramp 64 was one of them. But my other can't miss was Severe MMA episode 298, the 6-year anniversary.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, go for it.
Yo, what's up, dude?
So, here, let me mute Chris while I do this. All right. So, okay, he's good. So, right, the Severe MMA episode 298 was really solid. And Shawnee Podcast is actually the one who, he made a big statement and came out and was very, very clear in a way a lot more people in this sport need to be about how bad it is for everyone to keep being complicit in allowing Frankie to fight. Everyone's complicit. The promoter's complicit, his team is complicit, fans are complicit, everybody's complicit. It's all of our fault. Because when he is vocally saying things in public about the amount of damage he has received, and we're all just like, well, you can't tell Franco when to stop. Like, that is a bad attitude to have.
I'm trying to recall the last time a fighter on their own decided it's time to hang him up because of damage.
GSP?
GSP. I think Rashad Evans also did so, because I think he said he saw an MRI and he said, all right, yeah, I can't.
I think he was
anymore.
forced to, because they wouldn't license him anymore.
Okay.
I think GSP is like the example, probably.
The thing is, and this might seem like a terrible comparison or contrast, but the reason why certain NFL players hang them up because they accumulate damage with their bodies, it's because, they have more money.
Yeah.
In the long term.
Yeah.
MMA fighters, professional fighters, don't have, the capital long term that football players do. You get it? There's never going to be, as big marketing wise, anything like that, or a draw. Totally understand. But do you think if the fighters were paid more, there'd be more fighters retiring? I do.
Yeah. I think there would also be better healthcare for fighters with collective bargaining, which is their fault. At this point, it's fighters' fault that they don't have collective bargaining or an association or a union, because they won't.
And they need to unionize soon and get better health care. Just, it's not going to happen, unfortunately, anytime soon. Optimistically, I would hope there would be some sort of, don't want to call it a movement, or motion. Let's call it a motion. Because you see the effects just of any sort of sport where there's massive contact to your brain, to your body. There's the long-term effects, right, to brain health, specifically mental health and physical health. Like just today, former Chargers and Buccaneers wide receiver Vincent Jackson was found dead in a hotel.
Yep.
And I think it was Brandon, Florida, somewhere like a neighborhood in somewhere in South Florida, and they said it wasn't trauma, so I don't know if it was opioids, right, or just hard drugs. It's a shame, And that's people playing NFL. Yes, your brain is taking a dump. I've heard some comparisons say, it's actually worse playing in the NFL than it is even being a combat sports athlete. I don't know. I haven't looked at data. I haven't looked into that, but I'm sure it'd be pretty similar because your head's inside of a helmet. Getting jarred around.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating too that like Frankie in this episode said. In episode 64 was like, oh yeah, well, NFL athletes, you're getting basically in car crashes for 6 days a week, or like, whatever, 1 day a week for 52 or however, I don't know, football. They're getting in a lot of collisions a lot over time.
16 weeks, and basically 15 weeks or weeks consecutively until you have your bye in between, but 17 weeks.
Yeah, but
you consistently getting in car crashes, if you want to call it that,
Right, which is a great argument about why it would be worse if fighters never ever trained and they only fought, but they're constantly in fucking training and sparring where they're constantly taking damage. So it's all very frustrating. But back to Severe MMA episode 298. It's really, really... We need more strong independent voices in the sport, and Shawnee is absolutely one of them. He says that the sport, it's a great... Frankie Edgar is a great example of why the sport as a whole needs to start ushering people out sooner. And we need more people who care about the fighters more than their 15%. And it's really an issue, especially a lot of media never want to tell fighters to quit because they're all scared of the backlash from the fighters, which is fine. But then you're also just like, I guarantee you a lot of those fighters probably feel used by that media later on, I would assume. And it's just a really frustrating and parasitic relationship the entire sport has with the people who actually compete in it. And it's a fucking bummer. But that being said, on some lighter notes for Severe MMA 298, Shawnee pointed out that as soon as the Reem and Volk fight started, he was immediately like, shit, this is the small cage. And yeah, I had the same feeling. So I was like, oh god, you know what? These dudes are absolutely too big for this small cage, and this is not going to be a boring fight like Chris and I talked about. Let's see. Shawnee also pointed out, we talked a bit about the bare knuckle and the rough and rowdy card, and Burns versus Usman. And he also this week did a video about the Bellator deal. Did you hear about this? Bellator signing with the BBC?
Yeah, the 5-minute thing. It was with it was like an internet provider sub BBC thing, right? So it's not like
it's a fucking
cable.
BBC iPlayer. It's like it's essentially like a one championship level PR spin. So if you are listening to an MMA podcast and they are talking about how good a deal it is for the BBC, you should probably be really hesitant and skeptical as to what their motivations are behind that. Because it's a terrible deal if you know anything about it. So, yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that. But overall, Severe MMA episode 298, really, really solid. Let's see, Chris, did you have any other can't miss stuff for this week?
No, pretty much everything else is a mention.
Let's see.
Not saying they're bad, they're solid too.
No, yeah, there was a lot of really good stuff this week. Let's see. I have a new show that I listened to, which is What Had Happened Was, episode 4, which is the show that I didn't know about until about 2 or 3 hours ago. Evidently, Karen Bryant and Angie Hill have a show they're doing together now.
So I have seen some stuff posted on social media. I glanced at it. I'm like, oh, is that a new podcast? But I don't know if I really kind of looked into it.
Yeah, so it's on the MMA Heat.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's on the MMA Heat page that for Karen Bryant, and it's really fun. It's what you think it would be. They talk about Grasso's win over Macy. One complaint I do have: this is if you're watching on YouTube for this thing. Boy, it is a 1 hour and 9 minute video. There are 18 ad breaks.
Oh. Which
is like an ad break every 5 minutes or less. It's fucking brutal. Yeah, that's frustrating. But aside from that, it's really good. They talk about Grasso and Usman both working behind long jabs. Angie talks about how she had to learn over time to start quicker in fights and to like basically reassess and learn more about your gas tank after every performance and kind of learn where you can push harder and where you need to pull back and that kind of stuff, which I thought was really interesting. Talk about Usman jabbing from both stances and how Angie's like, everybody was in the gym the day after that switching stances and jabbing from both sides, which I thought was good. And then, they talk about Usman passing GSP for the longest win streak. And then it goes so off the rails. They talk about GSP being super hot in person and being into black chicks. And just start talking about Angie.
Into what chicks?
GSP is notoriously into black chicks.
Oh yeah. Huh? Oh,
yeah.
Someone had a really good podcast about how you go to the club. Fuck, who?
I forget.
I'll have to figure out who's talking about it, but
Yeah, Angie had some pretty good ones about GSP going to Atlanta strip clubs, though. So I thought that was pretty solid. And they talk a bit about Gina getting fired and why it's Gina's fault. Which, yeah. So yeah, really solid show, and I really like Angie, as you guys know. So I will be listening.
yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really solid. Let's see.
And I'll leave it for the recap for 258.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm like
That works.
head.
Do you want to? Let's see. You have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I got a couple. CME 439.
Super solid.
They watched the film Looper. I remember watching that whenever the fuck that came out. It was with Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I can't believe they did Looper instead of fucking Primer or Primer.
Well, they discussed Primer's a low budget film version of it. It's like a $7,000 budget.
Way cooler, in my opinion.
Yeah, the thing with Looper is it was a decent film. The script was fine, the story was fine, but I was just still so distracted that Joseph Gordon-Levitt had like the prosthetics to try to look like Bruce Willis. It's like I get it, but it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
It's like every time he'd move his face, it's just one part of staying still, and it's just like,
it's a
good
weird
movie
thing.
though. Yeah, they talk about the heavyweight division's full of dinosaurs. But Neil Dariush is now on a nice 6-fight win streak. They discuss Eminem and for some reason why Dana loves his turn of the century talent still to this day. And it was one of the listeners wrote a fun little just write up to them about how Eminem was the shit 20 years ago. And I remember even Ben and Chad were like, yeah, we both loved Eminem as well 20 years ago. And it's like everything he was spitting was great, but in hindsight, the shit he said, not so much. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Eminem shit does not age well.
Yeah.
Not like he made a good album after the second one.
It was I know Slim Shady LP was solid, and then
That was the second one. Oh, you're right. No,
well, technically the first one was Infinite.
that's what
one.
That one's solid,
like
and then this
96.
one after that is solid, and then it's all trash after that.
I mean, the Marshall Mathers LP
Yeah,
is
a lot
alright.
of people have bad opinions about that one. I agree.
Oh well, that one did have a shit ton of collabs. on
Yeah,
it.
it's
Like,
fucking
yeah.
Dan Tom Jerkoff Jeff. When I talk about Eminem, I think he's wildly overrated. He's a fucking old man who talks about references older than Dana White.
He's not. Hey, I'll say this: he's not Nas. So, put it that way.
Yeah.
But even then, if you've seen Nas rap now, it's like Eminem too. It's like an old man kind of
They're
yelling.
all, well, dude, rappers do not age well. I'll tell you that. Rappers and punk musicians do not age well. Half of the fucking punk bands I listened to growing up who were like talking about sucking old dudes' dicks are now like, Trump, brother. And you're like, what happened? Fucking anti-nowhere league. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just
100%.
yeah, they talk about Overeem. They said we saw 2 old dogs, and Overeem and Edgar get put out to pasture. They said Sanhagen made us sad. However, now he's just one loss. He only has 1 loss in his past 10 fights, which I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that one
it's
loss,
just,
of course, to Aljamain
Aljo,
Sterling.
yeah.
They said MMA fighting covered Barstool Sports Rough and Rowdy event. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, and for those who had seen that, it's clearly obvious Barstool Sports just paid Jose Canseco to just take a dive.
Well,
or be a moron.
Not by their choice, but by Jose Canseco's choice.
Yes. Yeah, because even like in an interview he had with who's a Big Cat and PFT commentator, the 2 guys from Part of My Take, they asked, he's like, I bet you $500,000 right now I knock out Billy Football. And then, of course, Big Cat was like, oh, he's like, says how broke you are. It's like,
dude,
Jesus.
I don't know why anyone expects anything but grifting from that dude. Go watch his fucking Pride fight and get back to me. I think it was Pride, right?
I think, something like that. Anyways, and then they said, what are your thoughts on Bare Knuckle FC and what's her name? Is it Britton Hart?
Yeah.
How she described herself as, I'm a fucking feeling and not a person.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I can confirm also that Fernanda Praches is also a fucking feeling. She confirmed on her podcast this week. Thanks to Ben Folks asking. So, shouts out to all the feelings out there.
They said, in all, Paige Van Zandt's very good at remaining relevant regardless of victory or defeat. Quickly, Mookie and Crookie 108 was good.
Yeah.
They must have said, Overeem does not look like a number 5 heavyweight. They said the entire division just sucks. They said Augusta Sakai is like number 9. They said wow.
Yep.
Yeah, they just said Sanhagen, holy shit, his last 2 knockout wins proof he's just only getting better. They feel bad for Frankie Edgar. Mookie wants Frankie Edgar versus Dominic Cruz for a retirement fight, assuming that Cruz gets past Casey Kenny.
I don't hate that because at least it's 2 dudes that aren't known for their KO power.
Yeah, Dominic Cruz not gonna be knocking him out, so at least Frankie doesn't have to worry about that. Then they said they'd love to see Beneil Dariush fight Tony Ferguson, and then they said the CTE title fight between Diego Sanchez and Cowboy Cerrone is coming up. They said it should be a highlight reel finish for Cowboy.
Speaking of dudes who should be ushered out of the sport.
Yeah. Let's see. Come on now, 233 with Trent Ryan Smith. He talks about inconsistent medical suspensions. They says, how does Overeem get 6 months of broken nose and Frankie Edgar 60 fucking days for getting knocked out stiff? What's going on? UFC caring about their fighters is bullshit. Yep. He read Habib's recent discussion with like a Russian interview where he spoke in Russian about his thoughts about the 155 division. He essentially just said, I'm not the champ Poirier is, kind of.
Yeah.
But then Dana just still keeps continuing to pressure him, which is stupid as fuck.
Dana's so fucking thirsty. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then Trent said, "What a great look, Rumble Whore." Excuse me, Bellator. I said Rumble Whore. Jesus, I'm like mixing up these words.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
That's a new promotion, Rumble Whore. What a good look for Bellator that they employ Anthony Rumble Johnson while one of their own fighters, Daniel Strauss, was arrested for domestic violence. They said, but a quick reminder that the UFC also still employs Greg Hardy. That's the fight business for him. And then, of course, you'll hear from a friend of mine. It was a massive boxing. I was like, bro, all the boxers beat their wives. I'm like, hey, man, I'm not insinuating they do, but it wouldn't surprise me.
A lot of them have DV charges. Shouts to Mayweather.
Yeah. Jake LaMotta, historically, I mean, there's a shit.
There's a lot of them, yeah.
Heavy hand 355. They broke down 258. They were like, oh, the fight's not going to go to the ground,
Yep.
They both chose Usman. And then they both said Kelvin Gastelum fights like he's on a test crash course. See that?
Sounds about right.
And then Jack Slack, I'll say this lastly. This is pretty good. It's not a skip. And here's okay. Let me get to this part first, and I'll explain why it's almost a skip, but it's not. 258 is not a good card when you have Macy Barber versus Alexa Grasso as the co-main event. All Bellator events were bad by the end of 2020. He says I have to give them credit, and Jack Slack is the biggest Bellator detractor. He's like me, basically, except more talented.
Yeah. You guys both fucking hate Scotty Hoax.
See, I don't hate Scott Coker.
No, neither one of you do.
Remember, like I said, I'll say something. I hate Bellator because every time there's a hyped up fight, some dumb shit happens.
That's true. Shouts out to all the dick trauma.
Yeah, like I'm not hyped for Rumble. I mean, I am hyped for Rumble versus Yoel.
Oh, that's gonna be great when they stare at each other for 3 rounds.
Yeah, Yoel. You tried to come to me. Yeah. And then Jack. Here's the part where it's almost a skip. And don't get me, I respect Jack's opinion in that this is what he believes. It was stupid of Disney to fire Carano, but based on the basis of that she said some bad stuff because it was outside of her job. He's like, why are you attacking her outside of her job? I think what he's not understanding, though, is that it affects Disney's brand. Disney is the biggest monopoly, essentially, in the world, besides, say, like Apple and Microsoft or, like, Amazon, right? Disney, as far as entertainment, it's Disney.
Yeah.
They're the best, making money.
Yeah, they're the best. Yes, let's be very clear. It's about making money, and they're very good at making money. Yeah.
Yes, Jack. I actually agree in some part of your point. Yeah, maybe it is a little unfair to go after someone for speaking their mind. However, freedom of speech does not mean freedom to speak hate. So, in that being said, she's fucking out. So I get where Jack was coming from, and I believe in no way, shape, or form does he agree with what you said, and he didn't say that. Fuck no. I'm sure he condemns what she said, but he just thought it was a little unfair that she got fired for saying stuff on Twitter or in social media.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, say dumb shit, win dumb prizes, right? Like, it's very simple. Like, you can't like, say the amount of dumb things she has in 2020 and have zero blowback from anyone. It's like
I can't spout some rhetoric on Twitter, say I'm anti certain brewery, or if I go, oh, this brewery, since I work at a brewery, right? So say if I were to go on Twitter or just on sort of my own social media and say, fuck whatever brewery this is, they're a bunch of piece of shit, they're this, and that, can my boss fire me based on that? I mean, it's his own decision. It's a private business. Yeah. Of course.
By the way, anybody can fire you for anything in America. That's kind of how our system works. It's kind of like fuck you, worker. It's kind of the way that this entire country works. So, like, as a worker, you got no fucking rights, and you're pretty fucked, unless you're a cop, and then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Other than that, good podcast, but. I get his point about Carano, but I don't think it's unfair what Disney did.
Yeah, and Slacky's notoriously a contrarian. So that doesn't surprise me that he would have a contrarian take on something. Let's see, some honorable mentions for me. We mentioned, Mookie and Craigie episode 108, which we're going to have a clip for on the break. The Body Lock, UFC 258 watch party was real fun. I need to stop getting so hammered in those things. Hanging out in chat. That's dangerous. I keep getting talked into taking, Ant keeps taking edibles, and then I decide I should take edibles.
Well, I just remember you must have been hammered that one time because you shout out my just full name in the chat. Thanks, bud.
I mean, your fucking nickname almost is your full. I mean, you're.
Fair. So. And I guess it doesn't fucking matter. It's
not,
unless my name was just like John Smith, then no one cares. But it's yeah.
Well, we be getting wild in the Body Lock chat. Shit's popping off. I ended up dosing myself with way too much weed butter on accident and then getting fucking hammered.
You're fucking wild, man. Yeah.
Well, it's what happens when you buy 1,000 milligram jar of butter and then try and dose out 50 milligrams. You might fuck that up.
Stars of death, dog.
Dude, yeah, for real. Fucking stars of death.
Where's the moon bars?
That motherfucker. Dude, actually, the moon chocolates, those do hit fucking hard. I will
that reminds me, I've been to a dispensary in the longest time. I kind of, even though they're expensive as fuck, it was kind of nice getting, those CBD, joints.
March and Ash has some.
CBD, because, you can just smoke a whole one and just get, the right amount of fucking high.
Yeah, I know some people who only fuck with CBD stuff because they get, panicky from actual weed. So, definitely. I recommend it. If y'all are babies and can't deal with actual THC, then yeah, for sure, smoke some CBD. Or if you're just not a delinquent like me, who has to just slam drugs into their head to cope. Anyway, Unleashed episode 73 was really good. The return of the Matt battle. Matt Wells and Matt Hunter guested, along with Ben Duffy and Jay Petrie. Really solid. We talked about the CME Patreon. The Fight Night MMA podcast for episode 36 was really solid. That was a lot of fun. The Cole James Cash show, episode 11 was really good. Matt Hunter came on and talked about fascism and MMA, as well as some Tito talk and stuff like that. Best Camp of My Life, episode 16 was a Q&A episode that was a lot of fun. And Level Change, episode 110 was really good. They previewed UFC 258. And John Nash did a Q&A. So, yeah, really solid.
Nice. That sounds really good.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. So, everybody go check those out. And we're going to play a clip of Mookie and Crookie episode 108, talking about Kaposa's Space Fight Night on the break. And when we come back, we're going to very briefly talk about this UFC 258 card. Because, honestly, I don't have a ton to say about a lot of those fucking fights. So, but I definitely want to talk the main event and a couple other things. So, we will be back, and in the meantime, enjoy this clip about Kaposa's Space Fight Night.
Liked by the sound of violence.
Absolutely. He is the one who's got his finger on the pulse of every MMA event or any circus event known to man.
Yes.
In fact, it's only a matter of time if we ever find intelligent life in another universe and Kaposo is still alive. He's absolutely going to look for Alien Fight Night 51 or whatever the hell it's going to be, so we can see non-humans engage in other forms of combat sport.
Right?
Oh man, in a parallel universe they do MMA too, but strikes to the head of a grounded opponent are legal.
About it all. by the sound of violence.
Absolutely. He is the one who's got his finger on the pulse of every MMA event or any circus event known to man.
Yes.
In fact, it's only a matter of time if we ever find intelligent life in another universe and Kaposo is still alive. He's absolutely going to look for Alien Fight Night 51 or whatever the hell it's going to be, so we can see non-humans engage in other forms of combat sport.
Right?
Oh man, in a parallel universe they do MMA too, but strikes to the head of a grounded opponent are legal.
About it all. by the sound of violence.
Absolutely. He is the one who's got his finger on the pulse of every MMA event or any circus event known to man.
Yes.
In fact, it's only a matter of time if we ever find intelligent life in another universe and Kaposo is still alive. He's absolutely going to look for Alien Fight Night 51 or whatever the hell it's going to be, so we can see non-humans engage in other forms of combat sport.
Right.
Oh man, in a parallel universe they do MMA too, but strikes to the head of a grounded opponent are legal.
Are you excited about it all? Liked by the sound of violence.
Absolutely. He is the one who's got his finger on the pulse of every MMA event or any circus event known to man.
Yes.
In fact, it's only a matter of time if we ever find intelligent life in another universe and Kaposo is still alive. He's absolutely going to look for Alien Fight Night 51 or whatever the hell it's going to be, so we can see non-humans engage in other forms of combat sport.
Right.
Oh man, in a parallel universe they do MMA too, but strikes to the head of a grounded opponent are legal.
Are you excited about it all? Liked by the sound of violence.
Absolutely. He is the one who's got his finger on the pulse of every MMA event or any circus event known to man.
Yes.
In fact, it's only a matter of time if we ever find intelligent life in another universe and Kaposo is still alive. He's absolutely going to look for Alien Fight Night 51 or whatever the hell it's going to be, so we can see non-humans engage in other forms of combat sport.
Right?
Oh man, in a parallel universe they do MMA too, but strikes to the head of a grounded opponent are legal.
Generation, are you excited about it all?
All right, everybody, we are back.
Yeah, we are.
We are back to very briefly talk about this UFC 258 card. Before we do, shouts to Dan Tom, who dropped in chat to say hi and pay his respects, as he put it. Always appreciate seeing Dan in here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and he mentioned the art fight episode. Yeah, super big bummer that those guys are closing down shop for now. But, yeah, it was cool hearing Nancy give us a shout-out on there. And glad to hear that they found out that they were one of our top 25, because we really like the stuff those guys did. All right, so Chris and I are going to very briefly talk about this. We're mostly just going to cover the main fight because I have some chaos going on over here, and it's Mardi Gras in the morning. So, Chris, this was a wild-ass fight for as long as it lasted.
Yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. I like how Gilbert Burns really kind of set the pace for the striking exchanges on the feet early. Catching Usman, which no one ever really does clean.
Yeah, just kept catching him
off. Slip over right. Over
yeah, that cross counter.
Cross counter, yeah, and I saw he barely missed kind of like that uppercut to try to connect. I don't.
Yeah, he was close on a couple of those. He was hitting a lot of step-in knees too, which were fire counter knees.
I liked how when he pulled guard, he was just kind of kicking his knees, which I don't think I've really seen too often.
Yeah, you normally don't see a guy stand over a dude for that long, but Usman just kept throwing kicks and Burns kept trying to stomp the knee.
And real quickly too, I don't know if it had to do with Gilbert Burns' cardio or gas tank, which why he looked like a slight bit different in the second round, and third round, or at least the beginning of the third round. But that fucking jab that Whitman said at the end of the first round, he's like, champions are made with a good jab, and you look at the past welterweight legends, or just even other fighters, GSP, amazing jab, Habib. Amazing jab. I know there's another fighder who has a good jab.
Habib's got amazing jab is much better than he used to be, yeah.
Yes. But besides GSP and now Usman, I'm trying to think of another guy that has a really fucking good jab.
Mighty Mouse.
Gaethje's got to have a good jab.
Yeah, Gaethje lives a little bit more on the check hook, but yeah, he definitely, I mean, Whitman in general, Rose Namajunas works really well behind jab. Yeah, it's, I mean, just super impressive performance for Usman. And the reach he was getting on his jabs were ridiculous. He was closing a crazy amount of distance.
So solid performance by Usman. He retained his belt. He finished Gilbert Burns via TKO. It says power jab to ground and pound.
Yeah, power jab is right.
In 34 seconds of the third round. I think what's next apparently is a rematch with Masvidal.
That's what I keep hearing.
I guess.
Which is very boring.
I mean,
but whatever.
I am intrigued to see Masvidal in a full camp. I don't see how it doesn't go.
Not. It goes exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish it would just say, just fucking give Leon Edwards or Wonderboy a title shot.
It should be Leon Edwards, but Leon Edwards can't get a fight to happen to save his life. So
yeah, I feel bad for him, and I'm really bummed that Khamzat Chimaev just keeps. I mean, well, he keeps pulling out because COVID fucked him up.
Well, and also, hey, I don't know, crazy thought. Maybe don't book guys who are still in the throes of dealing with COVID.
Yeah,
maybe hold off and make sure they're good. I know Dana White doesn't give a shit about COVID.
Yeah, because I think it was breathing problems.
Yeah, he still doesn't have his full lung capacity back. Which, like, don't book a fight when a dude doesn't have full lung capacity. Maybe crazy concept, I know.
So yeah, good overall fight. I agree with you in that it should be Leon Edwards getting the title shot next, but it's not going to be. It's probably just going to be Masvidal.
It's going to be Masvidal, probably.
Other shouts out to last week, Nate Diaz, and that, in my opinion, terrible interview with Helwani. Like, Nate Diaz, what are you doing calling out? Like, you say you want to fight at 170 and you call yourself real. I mean, we know you're a keyboard warrior at this point. And then you call out lightweights to fight at 170. Like, come on, bro. Like, we all know goddamn well he would just get ragdolled by any of the top 10 at welterweight or any wrestler. So, that's just him telling. And I like Nate Diaz, but that's just him telling me, you know, I don't want to cut to 155. And I get it. You're older.
Yeah, I stopped being invested in the Diaz brothers a while ago when it comes to their fighting because it's too frustrating.
It's frustrating, and yeah, and I don't want to see him fight Poirier. I think Poirier. I don't know if he knocks him out, but it probably looks like what fucking Masvidal did, or it's like basically you're just getting beat up for the majority of the fight.
Yeah,
especially with the leg kick. So shouts out to Nate Diaz. Hopefully you get a fight.
Be nice, but then again, maybe it wouldn't be nice.
No.
Stop making fighters who have been around forever continue to fight is maybe my take. Let's see. So some other notable stuff on here. Alexa Grasso boxed the face off of Macy Barber for two rounds until Macy Barber started sprinting at her. I feel like that's always how that was going to go, right?
Yeah.
Because Barber to win that fight, she had to be able to hold Grasso down, and to Grasso's credit, she did a really good job of scrambling when she did get stuck on bottom. And then just boxed Macy's face off. Let's see, Kelvin Gastelum and Ian Heinisch. Kelvin Gastelum still going out here getting wins.
Dude, I didn't even realize it was his first win in 3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
I had no clue.
Yeah.
I knew he was fighting just murderers all around. And I remember DC in the commentary were like, dude, can you imagine if he's at 170? Yeah, I could imagine. I think he'd have a real challenge to Kamaru Usman. I think it'd be fun.
Kamaru Usman would probably...
He'd probably still fuck... I mean, I was still taking Usman.
Yeah, well, Kelvin would never make weight.
Well, I know. Remember, this is all
yeah.
theoretics.
Right. Well, yeah, since we're in fantasy land, talking about Kelvin making weight at 170, for sure.
Yeah. By the way, I watched, for just the second time, that movie Warrior last week. Kyle and I, we were just like, Brad, like, what the fuck's on TV? And we're like, oh, I'll watch this again. And it was kind of funny. It's a good movie, legitimately. Has very good acting, especially from Nick Nolte and Tom Hardy. Mm-hmm. But like some of the cameos of like the main character played by Joel Edgerton fighting Anthony Rumble at like 185 and seeing how sucked in Rumble was, like, oh my god. Yeah. But the funniest part of the movie was when Koba, who's like the Russian Habib, basically like unbeatable, undefeated champion, he fucking fights the main protagonist. He doesn't suplex him like against the cage. He literally just grabs him, and you can tell a wire pulled Joe Edgerton, the actor, up, and he almost went out of the cage. Like, that literally defies... I was laughing my ass off. I had to pause it, rewind it multiple times. I was showing Kyle, like, dude, Jesus. No one would try to throw someone backwards at the cage like that. Like, can you imagine if someone tried to actually do that? Like, it was the most ridiculous looking thing I've ever seen.
You're 100% going to get mounted like that.
Yeah, but it was just funny. He just like yeets him behind him, and his like back of his back hits the top of the cage and falls back in. Like, what is he trying to like throw him out of the cage?
Well, to be fair,
What would even be the ruling if?
You can't throw somebody out of the cage. It's against
that'd be
the
a
rules
DQ,
trying to
right?
throw somebody. Yeah, Tank Abbott used to try and do it to the guys all the time. Way back in the day, and he got close a couple times. Like he got dudes with like one leg up on the cage before. Tank Abbott's a fucking crazy person. But yeah, no, you can't throw people out of the cage. It's against the rules.
Yeah. Oh, and of course Brian Callen being like just the total, just pessimistic. I don't think he belongs in the cage here. I'm a believer now. You see Brendan Conlon? He's this goldfish trader. It's like a bag full of water and a goldfish. Like, okay, Brian.
Oh god, did Brian try and forcibly fuck the goldfish?
Maybe in the director's cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then shouts out to John Anik from like 2011. That tripped me out. See him on ESPN.
Yeah, I always forget about that too. That's funny. Let's see. Anything else on this card to stand out? Yeah, Ricky Simone got that.
Ricky Simone had a very dominant performance at 145.
Yeah, Kelleher. I don't think he's big enough for 45 against dudes like Ricky.
Julian Marquez, very impressive. That was a fun fight, actually. Maki Pitolo.
Oh, yeah.
Back and forth.
Yeah, Julian Marquez almost died before getting that anaconda.
Yeah. And shout out to him, like, shooting a shot at Miley Cyrus, of all people. Like,
and then fucking it up.
Yeah, and then fucking it up even worse. Like, so we go get a tattoo. It's like, come on, dude. All you have to do is stay quiet.
Yeah, just shut
their attention.
You know what? Maybe MMA fighters should learn. You know what? I was going to tell MMA fighters they should maybe learn the rule, just keep their mouths shut. But we do a podcast where it really helps when they talk. So
yeah.
It's complicated dichotomy.
Yeah. All good.
Let's see. Anthony Hernandez subbed ADCC champ.
Yeah, not according to Joe Rogan. Just kidding. No, he just kept saying it's over. It's over.
Oh my god, I can't. I don't listen when Rogan's on the broadcast anymore. It's unbearable. Fucking Joe Rogan. Polyana Viana gets a win over Mallory Martin, which is that's a big win, and via armbar. And when she had her in a triangle forever, and Joe Rogan asks fucking Polyana Viana about when she stopped a mugger.
Yeah, I knew he would.
The last time Joe Rogan paid attention to the fucking sport, which was like 4 years ago. It was so long ago when that happened. Like, it's just because Rogan has zero grasp on what happens in the sport anymore. And so he literally pulled his one piece of knowledge from the last time he did pay attention to the sport and then forced it on everybody out of context. It was so frustrating. It drives me fucking nuts. But yeah, that was a big win. Mallory Martin's a tough out. She was looking really good in Invicta previously. And to get a win, and not only a win, but a sub over her is a pretty big deal. Bilal Muhammad boxed the shit out of Diego Lima. Looked like classic Bilal Muhammad. But he blocked us on Twitter for saying his coach associates with fucking homophobic dictators. Because he does. And then Gabe Green and Chris Gutierrez leg kicked the shit out of Andre Ewell and Philip Rowe.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Both were solid fight.
Yeah,
their card is pretty good.
Yeah, for what it was.
Yeah. What's
Oh, we're not covering next week's card. It's so trash.
Go
ahead and pull it up.
See what it is.
It's so trash.
I see I already know what the main event is. Oh wow, this is not good.
No. When the third fight on the card is Derek Minner versus Charles Rosa. Jeez. Oh. Yeah, it's a bad card.
Fucking criminy.
Yeah.
Well, the bad news, y'all, is I have to miss the most stacked card in a while, 259, because I'll be at work all day. So, what I will do is I will buy it. Well, mostly also because my brother and roommates will be watching it from home, and they'll just give me money. They'll chip in, and it'll mostly just be because so then I could just binge watch it that night. I mean, when I get home from work. So then I don't have, and I'm just gonna avoid Twitter obviously too and Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get.
Yeah, that one should be fun. So I think we are going to skip this next week since I'm actually off all week on vacation anyway.
Yeah, do your thing.
So I think we're going to skip this week, and we will be back next week to talk about 259 that week.
Yep. Yeah, I'll just say real quick who the fuck is on this goddamn beautiful card. You got the main event being current light heavyweight champion Jan Blah.
Vegas 20 is the week after. Which is Rosenstruik versus Cyril Gahn.
Excuse me.
Oh god, this card sucks too.
Maybe we'll do a commentary skit.
Yeah, dude, maybe. Although Macy Chasson and Marion Renault is pretty fun. God, there's not a lot of other ones that are fun on here.
Well, I said,
boy.
we gotta.
This ain't it. So yeah, we're gonna take next week off. The week after that, we'll play it by ear. Jesus, yeah, that's rough.
So, God damn it. So when do you? I forget. Do you have HBO currently?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to see what fight. Is there a fight in like middle of April? Let me see. Or the weekend of April 16th. Let me check real quick. Okay, that's. Oh yeah, Darren Till is fighting Marvin Vettori April 10th. Ooh, cool. Bellator 257 is.
Yeah, Vadim
that's the
Nemkov
start.
and Phil Davis, and then
Okay, that's
Whitaker
on-
Costa is the day after.
Okay, so it'll be maybe the week after or something. We'll figure it out. I would love to do a commentary of the brand new Mortal Kombat movie that's being released on HBO Max on
Ooh.
April 16th. It is probably going to be bad, which is
Yeah.
why I think we should do it. It's going to be bad. No, it will be bad because the official still has told the guy who's playing Jax looks just like Steve Harvey. It's insanely distracting. Yeah, we got to do that movie. Maybe I'll get G6 to join.
There you go.
We'll do something. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun fucking mess. We definitely gotta do the new Mortal Kombat.
For sure. We will definitely make that happen. Oh, well, on that note, everybody, we'll go ahead and wrap this here, but you guys can find us on Twitter, TSOVPod. You can shoot us an email, sovpod@gmail.com. You can see the full show notes on the website, soundofviolence.com. We also, on our YouTube channel, I try and do a playlist every week of the podcast we talk about, so it's a good resource if you're ever looking for shows throughout the week to listen to. And until then, everybody, I hope you all have a great Mardi Gras. Enjoy it responsibly, but enjoy the fuck out of it. And Chris, you got anything else before we get out of here?
All I know is if I can get there before I gotta go work tomorrow, I'm probably gonna get some Bud's Louisiana Cafe to go tomorrow.
Hell yeah, I hear that. Well, on that note, everybody, fuck fascists and laissez le bon temps rouler. Be out. Late.
Liked by the sound of violence.